In this video, we're going to take a look at a green ink from Diamine, one of their 150th anniversary Safari. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description are links to playlists by color, so if you'd prefer to see a different green, you can take a look at that there. I'm an ink guy. Now, our first writing sample is done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, some very nice shading, over going light to dark, brown going dark to light, fox going light to dark. It's very nice here, 9 seconds to dry. Medium is a little bit lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen. The shading is even better. Brown goes dark to light to dark, fox goes light to dark, the goes light to dark, over in the O is light and dark, then gets dark at the V. The E is light and dark. Nice. 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show good color variation, and without a doubt, it's there. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Retro 51 Tornado with a broad nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, but it shows spots of shading, like quick goes darker to lighter to darker. Jumps is very dark, especially next to the word over, and 16 seconds to dry. Medium is a little bit darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, nice shading, brown going darker to lighter to darker, fox going light to dark. Very nice here, 22 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show a little bit of color variation, but it's much nicer in the writing, and the smear test, I don't think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this kind of grayish tone at the bottom that's pushing its way up fairly uniformly. And then we get this very dark green that's working its way up there. And a bright, bright yellow at the top. Now the one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's dunked into water. And the most noticeable thing is the line of gray that's really forming at the bottom, giving the idea that that might be a holdout color with this ink, although that would be rare for a Diamine. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It shades very nicely as brown goes darker to lighter. Quick goes darker to lighter to darker. Over goes lighter to darker. 11 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading. Look at the Q in quick. Dark on the left, light on the right, very dark into most of the word quick. From the C to the K, it gets lighter. Fox goes light to dark. Brown goes dark to light to dark. So nice. 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show good color variation, and it's definitely there in the writing. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself incredibly well. I would feel very safe using this in a note-taking situation. Now, water's reactivating and lifting the greens and the yellows, but not that gray tone that we saw. Pen flush is not really doing anything more than water did. Now, to be fair, I did have to use a little bit of pen flush to get this out of the pen, but not very much. It was just quick in and out, and it really worked very fast. And it might have been my converter. all I can do is report what happened. 1/3 bleach solution is leaving a lot of the gray there, really showing how well this gray aspect bonds with the paper. It didn't bond that hard with the converter of my pen, but it does with the paper. The next writing sample is done on limon paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. Really a shocker with this paper because it is not fountain pen friendly. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Great performance going on here. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It shows shading, like over goes light to dark, brown goes darker to lighter, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shading, 7 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, although the extra fine shows some, and the smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Diamine Safari has a viscosity of 1.22, making this a very wet ink. If you're interested in how the viscosity is done and all of that stuff, there's a link to that video down in the description. The next writing sample is done on black and red paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It shades very well as quick goes from a little darker to lighter to much darker at the K. Brown goes dark to light to dark. It's very nice. Over goes dark to light to dark. 6 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, about the same tone as the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it's showing some shading. Jumps goes light to dark. The bottom of the B in brown is a bit lighter than the rest, but the rest of the word is very dark, but over goes light to dark. 9 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show very little color variation, although we are getting some in spots on both of these, but it's a more absorbent paper. The smear test says you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being 13 to 21 seconds. Diamine Safari has an average dry time of 15 seconds, making it normal. The last writing sample is done on G-Lalo paper. This ink just shaded so well I wanted to see how it held up to a gray backdrop, where we have no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, decent shading, brown going darker to lighter, fox going lighter to darker, the being a very dark word all the way through, over, light to dark, quick, dark to light to dark, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading as brown goes dark to light, quick goes dark to light to dark, over goes lighter to darker, and 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both, the extra fine shows the color variation better, but the medium shows none. But the medium, I think, looks nicer. It shows a lot more constant gradual in and out of shading within some of the same letters. Now the smear test, I don't think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Diamine Safari, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Being how much it shifts in its green tones, I really wanted to keep it a very earthy brown that went with it. And I chose a brown ink by Herbin, their Café des Isles. So what do I think of Diamine's Safari? It's a great tone and even better shading. There is a problem I found. Of course, it didn't do it here, but it does seem to dry on the nib very fast for every pen I used it in. Here, I wait 20 seconds. Does it? No. But just a momentary hard start after just 20 seconds. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? Now, a super wet pen will drown out some of the great shading that this ink has, so it's the only thing to be really aware of. Other than that, I found that every pen really put down some very nice shading. Personally, I would just avoid the gushers. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Iroshizuku's Tsuyu Kusu.